All right, we are starting a brand new month here in the Aurora General area here to talk about the real estate market. Has inventory gone up? Has it gone down? How is the buyer demand looking like for this month? And how are the prices of homes looking like for this month? Are they starting to go up? Are they starting to go down, right? This is the trend check, the report that basically talks about how, the real estate market here is in this particular area. Now, the market that we're going to focus on here is not the whole general area with houses from the very bottom of the range all the way to the very top with $1 million houses. We can most definitely put all of those properties into one bundle, but that would kind of distort the information. Obviously, if you're looking for general information, that's the kind of report that I would pull up. But today, I'm focusing on a specific property type, a specific market. There is an individual out there here in the market that is looking for a particular property, such as a property that is a single family home, detached, that is under, let's say, $300,000, that is, again, not a real estate owned, not a foreclosure, not a short sale. So they're looking for just a traditional sale. So that's the kind of information I'm going to put up here in this particular video here for you. Okay, this is an update video because, again, it is now a new month. And so we're here in August with the real estate numbers, so go ahead and do this, okay? So without further ado, let me go ahead and focus on here. I'm using InfoSparks from my MLS, and the first thing I'm gonna pull up here is what are the prices looking like here in the area. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put in the monthly digits here. As you can see, the numbers are looking very, very jagged. I always call it the shark teeth, but that's the raw data as far as the prices go. Now this is not the average price, this is the median price. What does median mean? Median means that this is basically taking into account the more conservative numbers, those numbers that are basically not the extreme north and the extreme south. It basically takes those that are in the middle, the more consistent numbers, the less excitable numbers, and puts that information out there. So as far as that goes, in this property range of $300,000 or less, the median price has been this month $255. You can see that right there. If I move this mouse, it's right there in the middle. So according to the numbers here, and as far as property prices go, the number has gone down 3.8. You see, a year ago, see, we're looking again in July of 2025, even though it's August, we're looking at last month's number. July of 2024, we did see the prices were median, right? The median price was $265. So you see this number here, and then we look at this month's number, and you can see that the prices have gone down from $265 down to $255 median price, okay? But let's take a look at the average, right? What is the average looking like? Let me go ahead and pull up those numbers. All right, the average price is actually less than the median price, $252,000, and we are still looking at prices around minus 3% compared to 12 months ago. Again, 12 months ago, in the month of July, we were looking at 260, and this month we're looking at 252. So we do see the price reduction of 3%, okay? So as prices, let's say for example, again, we're at 260 last year. Right now we're looking at $252,000. If you want to take a look at the rolling 12 months that kind of blend the numbers together, where are the prices at? In the last 3 years, we have still seen an increase in prices. So are we anywhere near, even though the prices have gone down, according to the monthly statistics, have the prices gone down dramatically? The answer is no. We are still at very, very high numbers. If you can see here in the graph, again, the prices are at 251. Again, taking into account the previous 11 months and blending all those numbers together, now we have a number of 251 for the average sale price. But again, if you take into account the last 3 years, you see here that even 3 years ago, if you take a look at the information, February, we saw a price of 233, again in this particular market, and we see July of 2023, 238, and those numbers rocketed up in July. Again, we're looking at those numbers of July only to 246, and now we are at 251. So the prices have been going up when you take into account the rolling 12 months in the last 3 years. If you look at the last 5 years, again, you can still see the prices going up. So if you want to take a look at the general condition of the real estate market with prices, yes, prices have been going up. And even though, again, prices have gone down compared to a year ago, only 3% less. That's not a huge number. It's a little bit of a divot going down. Still, the overall general, you can see here, it's been going up. Now, until we see this number going down a lot, that's when people are going to start to maybe make some moves. Am I panicking as a realtor if prices drop? Absolutely not. No. Why would I? Because it's those, I serve the public, right? I serve those that are looking to buy when the prices are high, and I am serving those when the prices are low. So it doesn't matter for me if those folks out there are panicking and they want to exit the market. We're going to watch out for those that are saying, hey, it's time to leave the industry. Absolutely not. I know that there's buyers in all types of times, okay? Especially when things get tough. But for now, the prices are not in a way where it's crazy, but we do see a little divot here, and that's what we see going on, okay? So going back to the monthly statistics, going back to the 3 years, I just want to see here, back in last year again, just looking at the numbers, July 2024, 260, we did anticipate, or we did experience, I should say rather, a drop in prices in August, and then a spike back up in September, down, okay? So go back another year before that, July 238, and then August we saw an increase in prices, right? So if we saw a decrease in prices in July of that year of 2023, we did see an increase of prices in August. So again, we are not seeing anything new, anything crazy going on in the market. So that's the state of affairs when it comes to prices. They're still increasing in the last 3 to 5 years. We've seen the increasing trend of prices going up, even though in the last 12 months we did see a little bit of a dip compared to July of last year, but the minimum is very minimal. 3% is what we've seen a drop. But again, when you take the overall picture of 3 to 5 years, we do see prices still going on the way up, okay? And they're there right now. That's just the state of affairs. We haven't seen that increase, so we're going to continue to report that. Okay, now let's talk about inventory, homes for sale. Okay, again, in this market of $300,000 or less, okay, if this is the market we're talking about, what is the state of affairs? Now, every single day when I'm out here in the real estate world, out here in the market, I'm taking a look to see what's happening out here in the market. Every day I'm refreshing the numbers, and I've been seeing averaging 16, 17, 20, and most likely I would find a property list of amount of homes for sale at about 25 or so, okay? Now, when I talk to the public here, I do throw out some numbers as far as the general area, but again, we're talking about the 300K, that's 300,000 or less market, and we have been trending around 25, even up to 29, 30. Even this morning, I saw 33 houses for sale. But what does the report say for the whole month? Well, here it is, okay? All right. For the month, it says here we were averaging 43 homes for sale. Again, this is 300,000, well, basically 301,000 or less is what we had. Now, we in June did see 31. This is accurate. 32, 31. That's what the numbers have been showing. But according to this, we have seen 43 homes. So we do see a spike in inventory here in the summer months. Now, the last time we saw a spike like this was back in November, October, even September of last year, from the numbers that we're seeing. Okay, a year ago, in July of 2024, we did see numbers at 40 properties for sale. So right now we're at 43, so slightly higher than last year. If you want to quantify that to a percentage, we are seeing 7%, 7.5% higher than last year. Nothing crazy. 41 homes is what it's reporting here. I'm seeing about anywhere from 25 to 33 properties per day available for sale here in the area with that price range. And sometimes we do see properties that are really, really good for an investor, a deal here and there, okay? We're gonna talk about the buyer demand and what to expect there in just a little while. But once again, we're just taking a look into seeing how the inventory looks like. Okay, this is the monthly numbers. Now let's take a look at the blending of it, taking the rolling 12 months and see where we are as far as inventory goes. The numbers are saying here that we are averaging, we take into account, again, the previous 11 months, do the math, blend it in, 36 properties available for sale here and the month of July 2025. All right, so we dropped 2.7%. Again, a very, very small number because a year ago in July, we did see 37, so 36 were basically flat. We've been flat with these numbers, according to this graph, ever since February of 2024. Even December, we've seen numbers like that in 2023. So currently, we've been having about a year and a half of the same inventory. A year and a half of the same inventory. It hasn't been going up or down. The state of affairs here in the area is that we've been seeing that number since December of 2023, those same exact numbers has been blending in. So we've been hovering around the 25 to 41 property available here in the area, okay, out in the market. So that's the state of affairs when it comes to inventory. And if you want to take a look again, get a perspective of the last 5 years, where have the homes been? Again, we see here the numbers are still very flat near the bottom. And just to show you, when was the last time we did have a lot of inventory in this particular market? Again, it peaked around, I want to say April 2020, but in the last 10 years, we could get even much more data, which will crunch the numbers and take up some time. But just to give you an idea of what has been happening, see here, this is 2020, right here in the middle of the graph. And we did see higher numbers of 700 back even in 2015. So we are completely different. If you want to consider, what the inventory looks like now, if you want to get a perspective, just 10 years ago, okay, 10 years ago, we were seeing properties of 700 properties available for sale just 10 years ago. Now that number has gone very much. I mean, it just plummeted compared to 10 years ago. Compared to a year ago, compared to 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we don't even see that much of a movement. As you can see here, it's still relatively flat, but we did see some steep declines starting in 2020, and the other decline happened around 2016. But in 2015, as far as inventory goes here in the rural market, that's the last time that we saw homes at 700 available for sale. Now it's completely different. Now we're just hovering around 40 homes. So the inventory is very, very low. Even last month when I was looking at numbers, we did see historic low numbers here in the Aurora area when it comes to this particular market, which are a lot of folks here, and especially in Aurora, looking for homes in that particular place. Now, before I get into the buyer demand, let me take a look at another metric that helps me just to understand what is the inventory looking like. All right, this is called the month supply, all right? So market, as we can see here, there's something called a month's supply, and that basically means that for the homes that are for sale here in the area, right, or anywhere else, it just basically says the month supply says if houses stop entering into the market, it would take this amount of months for it to deplete an inventory, okay? So a balanced market traditionally has been known to be 6 months of inventory. Is considered to be a balanced market. If there's 8 months of inventory, it's considered to be a buyer's market. Anything below 6 months is considered to be a seller's market. And even in the seller's market, there's, I would say, light, medium, and a very, very strong seller's market. Well, where are we at right now? Okay, well, let's take a look at the information, the data and statistics. As of July of this 2025, 0.9 months. 0.9 months. We're at 0.9 months of inventory, month supply. Have we seen lower numbers? Absolutely we have. Again, look, this line right here, you can see it with my mouse, that is 1 month, right? And so this is a very, very strong seller's market again. And I'm seeing this all the time here. If a property is correctly priced, and it's in a good area, that thing will sell in days, I mean, I would be shocked if it's 2 weeks in the market and it still hasn't sold, because at that point you would have to consider, hey, something's not right. In my experience though, I've seen if a property's priced correctly, right, properties priced properly, it would sell it within days. And if it doesn't, then we know something's wrong. That's just the state of affairs here in the market, because we have a seller's market, which we see sellers asking for as is all the time. They're not giving off a lot of things, especially when it's a multiple bid situation. Buyers right now are struggling to land a property. That's why having a realtor that can produce for you a list of houses that are off market, that doesn't have competition, I would say to you, that's a very, very good realtor to work with, because that's going to show you. And yes, of course, I am a realtor here in the Chicagoland area, specifically here in the Aurora area. And yes, I do have off markets that I talk to folks regularly, of sellers that don't want to list in the market. They will not list with a realtor. And I respect that, and I help them still sell their houses off market. I just closed on one even yesterday of an off market situation. So yes, it is possible, and I have a list such as that, okay? We can't force people to sell on the market, so I take advantage of that. Instead of tossing them away, I make sure to connect them with a buyer. And that's the state of affairs here when it comes to the month supply. Very, very low inventory. Let's go on to the final metric, which is buyer demand. All right, buyer demand basically is how many out of those buyers, like, we're not counting Zillow, we're not counting Redfin and Realtor.com, we're not counting Facebook and all the digital impressions that they have. As we're scrolling down the phones and we see a property and we click on it, we want to get more information. Of course, those numbers are high, 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 right? There's a lot of folks out in the communities, in the streets that are interested in these properties. They will click, click, click. I want to buy this house. I want to buy this house. But of the masses, how many of them are, working on and have expressed to a realtor, let's say, that they want to move forward and speak with a lender? Well, that number now reduces to some, just a handful of folks. And of those who say they want to make a move, I know it by firsthand experience that a lot of folks want to buy a house. But even of that multitude of folks, let's say 30 buyers that told me, hey, I want to buy a house, and I'm serious, they say, out of those 30, I would say maybe 10 of them would come out and speak with a lender. Out of 10 people that tell me that they want to buy a house, maybe 2 would be diligent enough to enter into a conversation and apply and bring documentation and actually be pre-approved. Now, out of those that are pre-approved, they're the ones now who are going to select to go see a property with a licensed realtor. They will go ahead and register with showing time so that they can go see this property. That's the highlight, right? We're talking about those folks in this database right here that are going to be going into the houses. Now we're considering these folks to be ready to go. I mean, right now it says 11 buyers per house. What does that mean? Again, out of those folks that are pre-approved, that are in the market, actively looking for properties, 11 showing requests have been made for any specific property here. So 11 showings. Now again, can you imagine all of the interest, all of the people that are interested are clicking? Sometimes I see on Zillow how many people have seen this, how many people have saved it, right? 500 views, maybe 36 saves. But again, it's those that actually go into the houses that are the most serious, and those buyers right there at that moment hold the power to go ahead and submit an offer. And of those 11, 12, even 15 buyers that go to these properties, maybe 2 or 3, maybe more, would then submit an offer. And of those, then those offers, that's where the seller and the listing agent will go ahead and scour through this, and then only one of those will be selected. I mean, that's just how it goes. That's just how it works. But okay, to put it into perspective, here we go. Again, the buyer demand here for the month of July 2025 has dropped. Now we're at 11.4. Is that a crazy number? No. I've seen even in the city of Chicago at times to have only 2, maybe 4, 5, 6 shows per listing. Yes, the number of available, I guess you could say, of buyers visiting properties have gone down, but is it still enough? Well, I would say again, no, it's not, because we know that the inventory levels are very low, okay? But 11.4, that's still not a bad number. So it's still good, even though it has dropped 31% compared to a year ago. Let's go back in time. Let's go back a year. In July of 2024, we had about 16 and a half properties. Even in May of this year, we had 16 and 0.1, I guess you could say. And then from May, it has dropped. Oh yeah, inventory has gone up some in this past few days, especially what I've been seeing out here in the market. I've seen and had more conversations with folks that wanting to make a move. However, again, ever since May of 2025, we have seen numbers start to drop as far as that goes. Is this an alarming trend? Well, let's take a look at the digits, right? Let's take a look at the data. Right. In fact, let's go back to July 2023. And there it is. All right. And 2 years ago, we had 21. So we had more buyer demand 3 years ago. And then we did see a drop in numbers. And we dropped all the way to November of 2023. 10 shows per listing. We're almost at those levels actually right here. July, we're at 11. And 2 years ago, we were there. Okay. And then we did see after November, December, numbers start going up. That's when buyers are hitting the markets. It peaked in March of 2024. This year, it peaked in March of 2025. So once again, look, just going back, it peaked in March 2022. It tried to peak around this time, but in 2023, it had different peaks actually. And so that's just what happened. And now we're seeing a more normal time. March 2024, we had 24.3, and again in March 2025, we did see 22. So we're starting to see more of a normalization in the real estate. Ever since 2020, we all know what happened then. We're starting to see more of a trend here. Is it going back to normal as far as buyers go again? Here we go, April, March, peak again, and in 2023, it was a little bit weird as far as that goes. We did see a shifting in the interest rates around this time here, but then we hit a peak again and a peak again here. So is there an alarming number here? Well, listen, yes, we're 11.4 here in the local market. These are numbers that we normally see in the cold weather months of November and December, okay? And even in October, we're seeing these numbers. In 2022, September, October, November, December, we saw it in the tens. Again, 11 in 2021, we did see low numbers, and we did experience throughout November a low number of showings. And then what happened is, and this was again a asterisk year again because we were dealing with 2020's aftermath of what happened worldwide, and then we did see a spike in January, and you just keep going up in prices again. So what I'm seeing here in the trend is that, listen, as far as buyer demand goes, I'm not gonna ring the bells and say, oh, it's crazy times, we have no buyers in the market. We do have buyers in the market, and yes, interest rates have been hovering around 7%, 6.8, 6.9. I get it, and folks are going to, respond how they're gonna respond. 11 shows per listing, that basically is okay as far as that goes. It's just, I know that we're seeing these numbers. These are December numbers. These are November numbers out here in the market. We normally should be around 16 shows per listing, but again, what's 5 less shows, right? It just means that those that are looking in the properties have a better chance to get their offer accepted. They have a better chance. Maybe instead of battling 3 or 4 or 5 offers, now they're gonna be battling 2 or 3 offers, right? So I'm not sounding the alarms that, oh no, no one's buying, the market's crashing. That is not what's happening. I do see that just because there's less buyers hitting the market, that just gives others an opportunity to just jump on there and get these properties sold. I still see a lot of demand out here, and we're going to be optimistic about it, of course, but the numbers say this. Again, just to wrap things up here again, it is that the inventory here in the Aurora area has still seeing low numbers of inventory, even though numbers have gone up a little bit, but we are still seeing some low numbers when you take it to perspective the last 3 to 5 years. Prices have also been around that same level, just increasing just slightly here, but year to year we do see a drop in prices. But again, the prices, as you can see, the last 3 to 5 years as we've been looking at have been high, and we don't see any crashes coming soon, and buyer demand is still in a way where it's robust enough for the offers to still be coming even 2 to 3 at a time here. So that's basically a report right now for August of 2025. Again, we reported July's numbers, but it is technically August right now. It's coming to the end of summer now, and we are going to just continue to go through and update you on this. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe, as I'll continue to update you periodically about what's happening here in the real estate market. So with that said, go ahead and have yourself a successful month, and I will see you next time. Take care. There we go. All right. Have a good one. Take care.